Okay, welcome everyone to imaginativevisions.com. This will also be on otakusandgeeks.com. And today we are going to be talking with the writer of the new Broadway off-Broadway play, Exorcist. Oh, Exorcist. I think I pronounced that right.
Exorcistic. It is a tongue
Exorcistic. There we go. This is a rock musical horror comedy, and I have Michael Fisher here. So
That's
thank
right.
you. Thank
Hey,
you for
thank you
joining
for having.
us. So, first question is, how did this come about, this idea to parody The Exorcist?
It's funny. Is for me, it always was, more interesting to parody the movies that weren't likely to be parodied. Like I remember wanting to parody The Godfather when I was in high school because I was like, yeah, you could have like horses' heads are in the bed. I was like, that would be so much fun. And Exorcist was one of those movies that when growing up in like the 80s as a kid and stuff and like the 90s, we were afraid of it. It was not a movie that was um casually watched.
Hmm.
Maybe our threshold was a little bit different back in those days, but like in terms of horror and what we could take in. But yeah, no, Exorcist was not a movie that we would even watch unless like it was very sort of like a sacred, all right, are you willing to go into this with me? Were we willing to do this type of thing?
Mhm.
So yeah, so parodying something that intense seemed to me like, well, that would be a really fun thing because then you take, in a sense, the teeth out of the lion's mouth, declaw the thing. Oh, Emma
Hello,
Hunton.
Emma.
Thank
Emma is one of the stars of the show. Welcome.
thank you. Thanks for having us.
And Michael, you were saying?
Oh, I was just saying that, yeah, no, the question was how did this idea came up? And it was just I always feel like, parodying the thing like Point Break, it's sort of a no-brainer to parody Point Break, right? But then something like The Exorcist was like, well, what would that be like? How absurd could you get with that? And yeah, just kind of came up with the idea of this character that Emma plays, this possessed girl, going into an audience and just seducing and insulting at the same time. And I was like, that could just be the show. But then I thought how interesting it would be if there was some other elements built around the show, which came the show within a show element came out of that.
And Emma, can you talk a little bit about the character that Michael just alluded to? How did you prepare for the role? What was your idea? What was your reaction to the script?
Yeah, so I've known Allie, Michael's wife, and Michael for a couple of years, and this, like you said, this show had been floating around. He'd had it for a while before I got involved. But I think we were coming up on the 10-year anniversary of the show that he had written, and it was the 50th anniversary of The Exorcist. So we wanted to do like a recording of the musical, and it was the first time I had heard it or seen it. And we were in the middle of recording it, and I was like, why don't we just do this? Like, this is really good. This is really fun. And Michael was game. And so he's been really great about we've had a couple people come in and play various roles, and he's really great. Even though the script has been around for a while, he sort of fine tunes it to the actors playing the roles because we are playing ourselves or heightened versions of ourselves in the beginning. And with as far as like the whole possession thing, I think I can safely say like I am trying to push it every show with how far I can go without like completely breaking my body in half. It's really, really because I'm just not like that in real life. So it's really fun to play this sort of like really aggressive, sort of balls to the walls demon. And I don't think we've seen anything like that from female presenting actresses in a lot. It's not something you expect for someone to sort of come out yelling these sort of vulgarities. And because of the material that we have, we've been given permission to go that far. Um, It is one of my favorite things that I've ever gotten to do on a stage. I cannot wait for people to see it. It's just absolute insanity. And I think it's obvious that we are having such a great time up there doing it.
And it has to be a lot of physicality too when it comes to like I mean, because I think we all seen the Exorcist movie with Reagan and body contortions. It has to be a lot of physicality to that performance as well.
There's a lot of voice distortion and literal bending over backwards. We have like a bruise count. Last time we did the show, I think like the back of my legs were like covered in bruises. But I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would disagree with me that, you shouldn't break your body for anything. But to me, they're war wounds. And it's really cool for me to show people like, yeah, and I got this bruise when I did this aerial thing, and I got this bruise when I accidentally ran into the bed, but that was my fault. So I for me, it's really fun to sort of see how far I can push it. And like my body is tired, my body is sore, but like if you're not selling that something else is controlling your body, then if I'm not hurting a little bit the day after, then I didn't do it right. Um, and it's fun for me. I know a lot of people would disagree with that, and they'd be like, "You're young, keep your body, don't let your knees go." But to me, it's all worth it. Like it's stories I get to tell one day about, you know, how I have physical evidence of how much I put into this show, and that's really cool for me.
I think you put that much into every show you do personally, but I think it's just more sadistic on my end that you're putting that into this show,
Well,
which
to
is
be
where
fair,
all of those
to be fair,
tortures
like I
come to
said,
bear.
Michael gives us a lot of freedom, and our
Mm.
directors, Chad and Allie, like really they're more concerned for me than I am. They're like, "Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to do that with your body?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's go further. Let's go harder." I'll say when it's time to quit. You know what I mean? But it's really fun for me.
And
Yeah.
since this is a musical, Michael, you're the lyricist as well.
Yeah.
How did you come up with certain songs? Because to take this horror type of icon, not only parody it into like a horror comedy, where did some of the songs come from to inspire it as well?
I mean, the 1970s was like a huge was just such an inspiration. It's like to try to capture a sound that feels like it could be the 1970s. And I've
Mm.
had some folks come and like that's one of their big comments is like this music isn't just any musical. It feels like a 1970s rock show. So in the way, of course, Emma shreds it and like and all the actors sell it. It's incredible the commitment to it. But yeah, like the style is supposed to be very much like that. And so the songs really just kind of came out of nowhere. Like I would just be like driving along, and then I'd start singing can I curse on here? I don't know if I
Yeah, of
can.
course.
So I'd start singing Your Cunting Daughter, just like when I'm driving to my tutoring gig in Beverly Hills. It's like the things would just come out of nowhere and I would just sort of hear them, but like I would hear them pretty completely. Um, so it was just certain things. Like I knew that the Jesuit blues, like I have lost my faith in the Lord, like had to be a gospel song.
Mm.
And I knew how it sounded like and the exorcism, I am the face in the darkness. Like that whole thing, like that had to be like ta and like I heard it and it all came complete. And very rarely does that happen. Because usually when you're writing a musical, like you're putting together various ideas that you've been tinkering with for years, or you're trying things out, and then you're like, okay, maybe that doesn't work as well as this. But this just came all very quickly. And it was actually technically the first musical I ever wrote.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Meant to be.
That's definitely for first musical. And to have this particular property to parody, that's pretty damn hell of an impressive resume for the beginning for the first one.
Right?
Yeah, it helps to have that image in your head of what you see on the stage, and then the music can come right to it. The words and the music can come together sometimes. Sorry.
And speaking of the songs and performing, bring it back to you, Emma. What is it like performing these things? And if there's any makeup, because I haven't seen the show yet, but is there any makeup prosthetics that you have to go on during the show? What's that process like?
So I mean, the preparation for me personally that goes into the show, it's like up there with like a Wicked for me. Like I am spending all day sort of getting my body and my voice ready for the show. It's like we start off steaming, we try to get a workout in, we have to stretch. We have to stop eating by 3 so that we don't have any acid reflux or like just I run around so much that if I eat too close to the show, I make myself sick, like just all the jumping around. So like there's the off stage prep that happens like before we even get to the theater, but then as soon as that show starts, it is like being shot out of a cannon. I don't have a break until the first 15 minutes of act 2. And and once like the sort of decline starts, every time I'm going off stage, I am putting on a little bit of something that is just like every time I come back on, like something's wrong. So like the first time I leave, I come back on, I've got sunken eyes. The
Wow.
second time I leave, I come back on, like my cheekbones are a little bit more defined. That by the time we get to the end of Act One, there's cracks on the face, there's bruising, and it's like it just that's where we are. And so that by the time we get to Act Two and we're full blown rock star, there's like adding to the parody aspect, there's glitter with the bruising, and there's like a smoky eye. You know what I mean? So the decline, sort of physical decline of my character is definitely represented through makeup throughout the show. But it's like I don't stop because of those little things happening backstage, different costume changes. It doesn't stop until and then all of intermission, I'm putting everything on for Act Two. So then once Act Two starts, that's the first time I can sit till since we start the show and like just like have a second to breathe. So it's nonstop backstage.
Is it difficult? This is for both of you, question wise. Is it difficult to balance the horror and the humor? This being like a horror comedy.
I mean, I don't want to speak for Michael, but for me personally, I think anything that you perform in, as long as it always comes from a place of truth, like the comedy horror and the horror aspect, that those will all fall into place. I find like the most funny performances I've ever seen on a stage have come from a place of honesty. It's like they just believe it so well that it happens to be true and it's funny. And so I think if we just lean into the truth of the script that Michael's written, which is very funny and very truthful, then I mean this thing that starts off as sort of a funny parody, by the time we're at the exorcism, has become like a, oh my god, I feel slightly uncomfortable, like this is like kind of very serious and very real, which is like and it's a slow burn, which I think is, as long as we're always rooted in the truth of it, like the slapstick and the humor and the horror all kind of fall into place naturally.
Absolutely. And I think one of the devices that makes it kind of that way is you've got two shows. You've got the show that's the primary um primary story of Emma Hunton and Michael Shaw Fisher and the other people in the cast, right? Putting on a parody of The Exorcist, and we're sharing this information with the audience, and we're doing a staged reading at the beginning of the piece of this parody. But what happens is through the course of the the show, while doing this parody, they're unlocking actual demonic energies. And that's where it's like you have the parody, which is relentless humor, but then you have what these characters, the Emma Hunton and the Michael Shaw Fisher and the Jesse Merlin and the Lee Wolf, and what they're actually going through as human beings doing this parody and what's happening to them. And that's where it all becomes uneasy and it all becomes frightening because you're frightened for the actors, not for the parody characters, not the parody Father Baron, Father Garrus, right? You're not scared for them as much as you're scared for the people who are putting on the parody.
Mm.
And that's where the balance, I think, is. It's like the parody is always funny,
Yeah.
but it has to be, but it also had to be performed and written in a way where it's delivered, like Emma says, to the truth of the situation, because that situation of the parody is mirroring the show within a show, if that makes sense. And so that has to be committed to in order to give you chills.
And that's
And
what
just destroy that.
and that's one thing I definitely I like to hear because it's kind of like, yes, it's a parody, but you don't forget that. Oh, wait, this is still horror at some point where you just gotta go, oh shit,
Yeah.
I forgot that I'm watching also some horror elements in here, and when it catches you by surprise, you're like, oh, let me.
Right.
And we're finding out in real time with the characters on stage that something's not right with me. You
Mm.
know, and like in the beginning it's not so clear, and like we're the audience is really finding out in real time that like this is something's wrong. You know what I mean? So it's and Michael's done a really great job of writing. Like it just is it's such a great everything happens right when it's supposed to, and it doesn't feel like a two-act show ever.
And my last two questions. So the first one's a really, really fun one. Favorite moment from The Exorcist?
From the original movie?
Yeah.
Oh, there are so many good ones. I mean, my favorite always is going to be the iconic with him under the street light, like just the image of like the Exorcist, that the poster. But I mean, I you have to go with the crucifixion scene. It is, or the levitation. I can't pick one. I can't pick one.
The levitation scene.
I
That's
do love.
really good.
I think the crucifix is just so iconic. Is like I hate what it is, but it's like we all know like that was such a shocking thing to happen at the time in theaters that I love the boldness of it. I appreciate the audacity of it.
For me, I'm gonna go with the conversation. I guess the first conversation with I think it's Father Benham and Reagan when
Mm.
Reagan opens up the drawer and he's like, "Did you do that?" And she was like, "Mm-hmm." That to
Uh,
me was just like the most creepiest part because it's
uh,
just like Reagan's like, "Yeah, I'm in control right now. I'm here."
and I want to say this real quick, just because I feel like, everyone keeps trying to make The Exorcist and another version of The Exorcist, and it always keeps messing up, and it doesn't feel real. And like, the reason is the demon is never accessible as a character. And in that movie and in the musical, the demon is accessible as a character. The demon's having fun. The demon is like a three-dimensional character who you have to get to know and who you want to get to know. And like, instead of just being like, the same classic, like poor, tortured, possessed girl, like bleeding all these places in her face and like the gross out factor. But I mean, like, if you don't have the character be, I can't remember, was it Mercedes? I can't remember her name, who did it in the movie, who supplied that voice.
Right.
Yeah.
What was, and they like when she did it, she was a recovering alcoholic and she said, I need Jack Daniels, I need this many cartons of cigarettes, I need my
Well,
priest to be there, I need to be tied down to the bed. I need to actually be tied down when I record these things. And she did this whole thing just to give you this personality. And then, I mean, there's a whole thing about how she didn't want credit for it, but then she did want credit for it. And then the whole thing sort of blew up. But if you didn't have her, just a, an incredible performer, no special effects, just the performer delivering that performance you were saying, Justin, like there wouldn't be scary, it wouldn't be human, it wouldn't be, accessible, or iconic. It wouldn't be any of the things that we love about it. So, I mean, yeah, I think I, I'm gonna say my favorite moment of the film though is probably when she's walking home from the shoot and she's walking through the streets of Georgetown and there's kids trick-or-treating and the nuns and the wind is blowing the nuns' habits as they're walking, two nuns, and the autumn leaves. Because I was born in Georgetown 3 years after this movie was made, and I was raised there for like the first 5 years of my life. So I always have this like primal connection to Georgetown and in the fall, you know. So yeah, that's my love for that.
And the final question is, how can people stay up to date with the show? Where can they follow you guys and keep up to date with your careers and the show in general.
Well, Emma, as well as being our lead, is also a producer on the show. So maybe should I give it to you, Emma, to shoot that stuff?
So you can follow us online on Instagram at Exorcistic Musical. That's our @ You can sign up on our website for a newsletter. And our show is going to start previews on August 25th at Asylum NYC, and you can get tickets on their website as well as through Today Tix. So hang out with us. Come see the show.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Justin.
Have a good one.